given me so much hope, and I trust you completely. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Are we ready? Okay. So she's my tech person today. Introduced, I'm Sarah. We'll get a star right now. So, anyway, as I was already introduced, my name is Carmen Varela, and I've been married for 26 years. There we go. I call this my Cinderella picture. We were in the limo going from, we'd just been married and we were going to the reception. And so, yes, that was 26 years ago. Wow. So, and I have
It wasn't easy.
5 kids. So this is, of course, David and I and Daniel. Aren't they awesome? I have practiced and practiced.
Just do it anyway. I didn't. It was running.
Sarah, this picture was just taken about 2
Up here.
weeks ago at in Canada at my mom's birthplace on the farm. So we're at my mom's house that she grew up in and was raised in. And then we also have 4 grandchildren. The woman on the right is my stepdaughter, Cinnamon, and her husband Rick, who is a doctor, who saved me. He diagnosed me with a heart attack 9 years ago. And 2 of my granddaughters, the one on the left, the one on the left is Veronica, and she just graduated high school. She's going to be going to UCLA. And the one on the right is Sabrina, and she's going into 8th grade. This is Jasmine, another stepdaughter, and her daughter Journey. They live up in Portland. The first family lives in San Diego. And then next, this is Joshua, my stepson, and his daughter Ambrielle. So we have 4 granddaughters. And this is Sabrina and Veronica again. This was just taken in June. And those are the 2 cute guys, the youngest. So those are our grandkids. And so the other thing I want to tell you that I chose Jesus to be my Lord and Savior on June 22nd, 1991, and which means I've been saved 27 years. So I'm going to give you a little bit of my background. I am a legal immigrant. My parents were French Canadian. Not that they're dead. They're still alive, but they're both American citizens now. So my father joined the U.S. Navy in 1955, and then he became a citizen in 1959 while he was stationed in Hawaii on the day he became state. And he married my mom in June of 1960, and he was stationed at the Naval Air Station in Rota, Spain, where I was born. And at the age of 2.5, we moved to Hollywood, Maryland, and I became a naturalized citizen in 1967 at the age of 6 years old, along with my 4.5-year-old brother, and my youngest brother was born at the same time in Maryland, so he's the only one who can be president of the United States. So, anyway. So at 10 years old, we moved to Brunswick, Maine. And I was going to put a picture of that up there, but because we, on our trip, landed in Boston, and we drove it. Many of you are my Facebook friends. You probably saw I posted Brunswick. And so we drove right next to it. We didn't stop. And then my father retired from the Navy and was hired by Lockheed Corporation in Burbank, California. That's how we got to the West Coast. So at the age of 16, I was 16, we moved to California. And then after earning a Bachelor of Science degree in geology from Cal State Northridge, I was hired by a soils engineering company where I met my husband. And the journey that my husband and I went through culminated in our being saved in 1991. And both of us, not on the same day. We weren't even together when we got saved, but that's a whole other story for another time. Currently, I work here I oversee the production of Sunday morning services. I do administrative work, and I do the finances for the church. That's why you see me running around like a chicken. It's a kernel. No, not really. I love what I do.
And
So-
I've seen some of your notes for the meetings. I've been a secretary for all my life, and they're so detailed. I'm like, what? I mean,
I'm a detail person.
Yes.
Which is good. Which is good when you're doing finances, right? You want every penny accounted for. So yeah. So thank you. So I'm here today because God has walked so closely with me in the last year that I literally have to shout for my spirit the goodness and the greatness of my God. As I said, I've been saved for 27 years, and that the relationship I currently have with my Father is almost indescribable. And I just want to share that with you and how I got there. In doing so, I believe it will encourage you. So, God is our Father, and and if you can truly grasp that in your heart, you'll be able to hold His hand and walk through life in a way that some will never know. It's all about hope through believing and trusting Him. Psalm 50:15 says, "Trust me in your times of trouble, and I will rescue you, and you will give me glory." I'm here today to give Him glory through my testimony.
Amen.
About 2 years ago, my family began to comment that I was not remembering short-term things. And I commented, oh, that's because I'm getting old, That's a common excuse, and I'm sure that was why, I'm just getting older. And I'm 57, I don't know if I said that. But I'm here today, it seemed logical that I was just forgetting things because I was older, but my personality is one of optimism, so, but that can lead you into denial, being overly optimistic. So, for example, I'd be sitting at the kitchen table doing computer work, probably for church, and David would sit down and he'd have lunch, he'd finish, and I would say, "Are you going to have lunch?" And the moment I would say it, I would remember that he had just had lunch. It's not like he had to say to me, "I had lunch," but it would click in my memory. And this went on for several months, and my children noticed it as well. I'd say something, and then I'd remember, like right away almost. But then, a little over a year and a half ago, in January of 2017, I started noticing these strange sensations on the right side of my body. To this day, it's still hard to describe what they felt like. They were mild. They lasted 20-30 seconds, and it had no effect on my functioning. I really didn't know what to make of it, so I just figured it wasn't important. And if it got worse, I would tell David. David had his own business for 22 years. And we decided to sell the company so that he could retire in February of 2017. David drove a lot in his business, so he was looking forward to my driving him around. And I was already doing that quite a bit because what he did was soils engineering. So he drove to the LA area a lot. He drove just all over the place. So he was tired of driving, and I was going to be his new chauffeur. So our 25th wedding anniversary was at the end of February. So we sell the business. Our anniversary is at the end of that month. We were married on February, I don't know if you noticed the date, it's February 29th, 1992. And so I believe we've had 6 wedding anniversaries. Which is always fun to say. So we were supposed to go to Alaska on a cruise, and of course you can't cruise Alaska in February. They don't have February cruises. It's too cold, too dark. So May 24th through June 9th, we went on it's what I really wanted to do. I love glacial geology, and to be able to go see glaciers was just the dream of a lifetime for me. So by the time we went on the cruise, I was having other symptoms, but I still didn't tell anyone. The short-term memory loss was increasing, and David suggested that I should go see a doctor. And I still had the strange sensations on the right side of my body, and they were increasing in frequency. And the right side of my mouth would just involuntarily smile. And I didn't know what that was about. But I knew something was up. But none of it seemed that important. It's definitely denial going on. So then something much more dramatic happened. We'd gone on the cruise, and I believe this was probably the following Sunday. I literally was standing right here, where I am right now. Something really dramatic happened. I was standing in this room, and I was speaking to someone, and I had what I call a moment of incoherence. For 20 seconds, I could not understand the person who was speaking to me. I knew they were speaking to me. I could hear them. I could hear my own head, my own voice in my head going, well, I don't understand what they're saying to me. But for 20 seconds, I did not know what they were talking about. Couldn't understand. And they had no idea that I was standing there in that manner because I wasn't frozen. But after church, I told David what had happened. I also told him about my other symptoms. I had a cardiologist appointment just a few days later that had already been scheduled, so I told him about my symptoms. And he said, to write those things down if it happened again. I said, okay, so I had seen the doctor just like David had asked me, and he didn't seem too concerned about my symptoms, and so the road to denial continues. And but on Sunday, July 30th, I had another moment of incoherence, 20 seconds of not understanding someone who was speaking to me. And it's quite unnerving to be looking straight at someone for about 20, 30 seconds and not know what they are saying. I was fully aware that they were speaking to me, and I was praying that they weren't asking me a question. And I told David that this had happened again. He said I should go see a doctor. So at the end of August, I had a new symptom. My granddaughter, Ambrielle, from the Cutie Advisors out there, had come to stay with us for a few weeks before school started. Her and I were driving back to my house from the market when I was about to make a right turn in my car with her. I looked this way, and my head just spun, like really dizzy. I was like, what the heck is that? I just prayed. I said, God, just get me home. It's only another mile, 2 miles. I just need to get home. And I was just praying it wouldn't happen again. But on Wednesday, the 30th of August, I was here. It was time for my weekly staff meeting with Pastor Tom, and David was here also. We were sitting right here, and the strange sensation happened again on the right side of my body, always on the right. Well, I was sitting there, and I knew it was time to say something. And David asked me to tell him when I was having these strange sensations on the right side of my body, and I said, it's happening again. Pastor Tom wanted to know what was happening again, and so I told him what was going on. Pastor Tom told me in a loving and stern way to make a doctor's appointment. On Sunday, he asked me if I had made the appointment yet, and I said I would in the coming week, and I did. Now God was truly about to step in, because I had laid down my pride from through denial. I called the neurologist, and that was listed in my medical plan, but the person I had chosen wasn't available, so they gave me someone else. I would realize in hindsight that that was a God moment. On September 11th, I saw the neurologist and told him of my symptoms, said they were seizures and ordered an MRI. He said that I should no longer drive. That was the last time I drove a car. David had to now drive me everywhere and has done so ever since. My license was officially suspended by the DMV in November because I take seizure medication. God has a sense of humor. I was no longer the chauffeur. And the MRI was performed on Wednesday, September 20th, and they gave me a CD of the images and to take to my neurologist, which I promptly went home and loaded on my computer at home. And I knew that I was looking at the images of my brain, but I couldn't read the images for the abnormalities because I'm a science geek and I love looking at that kind of stuff. So I received a call that same day, that afternoon, from my neurologist's office and said, please be here at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So far, nothing had really shaken me. I had some people praying for me. I wasn't contemplating anything negative. This is the optimist. But I saw my neurologist on the morning of Thursday, September 21st last year. And David was sitting right next to me, and we were sitting across from the doctor's desk. And my doctor said that I had a brain tumor, and it was malignant. It was most likely malignant. I said, okay. I glanced over at my husband, and he had tears in his eyes. And my reaction was, stop it. That was my reaction. Sometimes being practical and logical is not a good thing. And I could see that my images were on the doctor's computer. And I asked him to show them to me because I like science, I want to see. And so now God stepped in again. My neurologist asked me if he can call his colleague, a colleague of his who is a USC neurosurgeon who comes to Bakersfield every Friday with his team. I got an appointment with him the next afternoon here in town. I came to find out later that the neurosurgeon is the neurologist for the USC athletic team. So God was doing all of this. And when I met with the neurosurgeon, he held my hand and said that the tumor could not be removed. I would lose the ability to speak and some other skills. He didn't want to declare it malignant until proof. He gave me a hug as I left. So my biopsy was scheduled for September 29th, the same day as the worship renewal service at church. This was the renewal service that I wasn't going to be able to attend because we were going to go on a trip to Portland. The trip was canceled. I walked out of the doctor's office and I felt like I had been given a death sentence. When I got home, I told my son, that's when I felt tears rise. I had seen death stare me in the face. All of this was about to change me through the grace of God. God started encouraging me before I had the biopsy. I went to a gynecology appointment just before it, and after updating my medical history and seeing my gynecologist, she asked me if she could pray over me. I said, yes, please do.
Praise God.
So we arrived at KMC early on Friday, September 29th for the biopsy. The surgery was canceled due to flooding in the OR. God knew that I wanted to go to the renewal service, and now I was going. He made a way. It was an amazing evening of worship and prayer and encouragement. He was infusing hope into me. The biopsy had been rescheduled for the following Friday, October 6th. And I began a Bible study the day before with our women's morning study group. The study was Beth Moore's The Quest. We watched the intro stuff on that day. Then I had the biopsy the next day. I was amazed when I came out of surgery and woke up. There was no pain then or thereafter from the surgery. I attended Bible study 6 days after the biopsy. Once again, God had some more encouragement for me. The short video segment showed the testimony of a woman whose husband had just been through the battle of a brain tumor. All I could think was, wow, God. God burned into me through that study that I was supposed to, how I was supposed to approach my diagnosis. Imagine that all is dark all around you. And you are outside, but there is only starlight, no moon. And in your hand, you are holding the handle of a lantern that is lit. You can only see a step or two in front of you. You cannot see down the back. This is how a quest with God looks. When we talk about knowing God, it means having a real, living relationship with Him. That's what it means to trust God. You completely trust Him to lead you, and He will. The biopsy showed that I had a malignant astrocytoma in the left frontal lobe of my brain. It is a grade 2 tumor, which is slow growing with slightly abnormal cells. My neurosurgeon asked me if I wanted to be treated by a neuro-oncologist at USC or in Bakersfield. And nothing against Bakersfield, but given the choice, a place where oncology is being taught and I would have many eyes on my progress is what I really felt God wanted me to do. They also have all the newest technology. So in mid-November of last year, I had my second MRI at USC. This was done in preparation for 42 days of chemotherapy and radiation that I was going to start on December 15th. So I think it's kind of obvious that this white area here is the tumor. So from December 14th through January 25th, I was being treated at the USC Norris Cancer Hospital at the Keck Medical Center of USC. The hospital is 2 hours from Bakersfield. But David's sister, Mickey, and her husband, Scotty, live in Glendale and are 10 minutes from the medical center. They invited us to stay with them Monday through Friday during my treatment. What an enormous blessing. And we would be able to visit David's 97-year-old mother who lives in Glendale. So God just kept pouring more blessings on us. And each time that I would receive radiation treatment, this is the radiation machine. And I would lay down on that table, and this is the mask that was created for me. And this mask is attached right here. You can see the little screw knobs there. So I would lie on that table. This would be placed on me. And the purpose of this is to always be in the exact same position every time radiation is applied. So that's
You can't move your neck.
you cannot move. Well, you can move, but you're not supposed to move, right? As well as the lines that are on here. These are lines that they're using lasers to make sure that you're in the right laser lighting, to make sure you're exactly in the same position every time they apply the radiation. So each time this would happen, it only took, I don't know, I'd walk in, I'd get on there, and by the time I walked out, it was maybe 10 minutes later. It was very fast. So each time that I would go in for my treatment, for the radiation, I would pray, Father God, may this help me and not harm me. Thank you for the knowledge that you have given these people. Thank you for your healing power. I prayed this every time I received radiation. as I got farther into the treatments, they were really taking my energy. A week after starting the radiation treatment, I lost some of my hearing in my left ear, and a large portion of my hair fell out one morning. So the hearing is getting better. It felt initially as if someone put an earplug in my ear. I could still hear I could hear my voice and everything. But that was a really tough morning for me. This was a Monday morning. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning, and my hair just started falling out in like a big old nest. And it was very stressful. I knew that I could lose all my hair, but I did not. Through the grace of God, I did not. I only lost hair where they applied the radiation, and today it's starting to grow back. You can see all this stuff here. And because God has blessed me with curly hair, almost no one can tell. I've been coming to church every Sunday. No one can tell that I've got all this hair gone. But it's all coming back. I get these little things that stick out when I'm doing. I'm like, get back in there. So it is coming back. So that was a very discouraging moment. But God, through my husband and others, took complete care of me. And I don't remember exactly, but David did not leave my side for probably 7 or 8 months. He has driven me to the many doctor's appointments that I have had and cooked 99% of our meals in the last year. I am blessed beyond compare.
Amen. Good job.
So after 42 days of treatment and 4 weeks off from all treatment medication, it was time for another MRI. The tumor had shrunk considerably. You can see the difference. That was November, and this was in February.
Were they hoping that it would completely go away? I mean, or did they just tell you it would shrink?
Brain, it is typically said that brain tumors, and I'll state this again, are not curable. They are treatable. So, but this, my doctor was very pleased when he saw this. The tumor had shrunk significantly. And as it states in Ephesians 3:20, God can do much, much more than anything we can ask or imagine. I am now in the phase of my treatment where I am taking chemotherapy. My chemo has always been in pill form, which I have thanked God for many times. I take the pills for 5 consecutive nights, and then I wait 23 days, and I see my doctor, and I start again. And that will be for at least a year. And I get an MRI every 2 months. I'll be having one this coming Thursday. And the whole process of the MRI takes about 45 minutes. And every time that I have an MRI, I close my eyes and I begin to pray. You have 45 minutes to lie there and you can't move. I just praise and thank God for all He is doing in me and through me. And I pray for my family, my friends, my church. Then I sing praise songs in my mind, and I try not to fall asleep because I could literally fall asleep. Brain tumors are not curable, but they can be treated to shrink them and to control them. But I know that God can cure me if He chooses to.
Amen.
But I also believe He can do so much more to deepen my relationship by just walking with Him. He brings people who reach out to me, and I in turn reach out to others in a new and unhindered way. Much of the doubt and fear that was in my life, I've handed over to my Heavenly Father. On May 26th through 27th, my cousin walked in my honor in the Relay for Life in Montreal, Canada. She had sent me an email, but I didn't answer for a few days. When I responded, I realized she was probably in the middle of the all-night 12-hour walk, and so she was. Around midnight, I received an email this is what she said in a response email to me. Around midnight, I received an email from California from my cousin Carmen, for whom I was especially walking for this year. This is semi-translated from French, so that's why it might be a little odd. She thanked me for walking in her honor while she was giving me good news concerning her brain tumor, which continues to decrease thanks to her treatments. This gave me the momentum to finish my night with enthusiasm despite some persistent acne. My dear brother illuminated my night journey next to Carmen, my cousin Louise, and my uncle Jean-Marie, and friends Robin and Sylvan, who are also fighting now. So, her brother, my cousin, died from brain tumor. He had a glioblastoma, which is really bad. It's kind of like a spider thing. And this is my cousin Louise. She was my maid of honor. So my cousin's brother died about 15 years ago. And then there's my cousin Louise. We are double cousins. Her mother and my mother are sisters. Her father and my father are brothers. So she was a month younger than I, so we had the same grandparents. She was my maid of honor, but she had the same thing as me, but she ignored her symptoms for years. Only while giving birth to her second daughter and having seizures did they discover her tumor, and it was the same as mine. She died in 2000 at the age of 39. The thought that I might get a tumor like hers was in my mind for years because of our genetics. We were so similar. Same grandparents, both sides. So so when it came to pass, it was a bit surreal. But I have experienced something amazing through my quest. The Bible says, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds, healing their pain and comforting their sorrow. I know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that He is with me. I am with Him, and we walk together on this quest until I get to the door that takes me to the land of the living. How do I know this? Because I know that God causes everything to work together for good. Because I love Him, and I am called according to His purpose for me. I know who I am because God has shown me, and He has told me. There's a song that has touched my heart so deeply that I want to praise and worship our God together with all of you while we sing this song. And it's interesting because last Sunday I was in the office and I was singing this song, and Pastor Tom walked in, and I said, "You heard this song? I love this song. Guess what song we're doing tomorrow at church?" Same song. It's new for the church. I was just like, thank you. So the song is Who You Say I Am. Afterwards, I want to invite a few of the leaders to come forward. And if something has touched your heart today and you are sensing that tug to be prayed over for healing or restoration, then please come forward. If you have never said, "Jesus, you're on the throne of my life and not me," then I really encourage you to do so today, because we are all children of our amazing God.